Hello everyone, welcome back to Jordan Sky's YouTube channel. This is the CFO series wherein we are talking about budgeting, cash flow, financial modeling and various other topics. Today's topic is very important and very sensitive topic for a lot of organizations. So today's topic is how to keep your costs under control. Do you know, as per study conducted by Gartner, only 11% of the organization were able to meet their cost expectations or were able to reduce their expenses over a period of more than 18 months. The primarily reasons were all the cost reduction activities which were taken from a very short term perspective. So it is really important when your organizational, every company wants to increase their net profit, which is net money taken at home. This can be possible via two major ways. Number one, which is you increase your revenue 2x, 3x of your revenue, or number two, you reduce your outflow as compared to your revenue. So in this video, we are going to talk about how do you reduce your expenses over a period of time as compared to increase in your revenue. So stay tuned till the end of this video to learn about various cost saving strategies which you can adopt in your organization. The first and the foremost important thing when you're doing this exercise is you have to think as this activity as a long-term horizon and not as a short-term horizon. So number one thing which you're going to do it from a cost optimization perspective is to identify the cost drivers. So cost drivers are the specific elements which drives the revenue for an organization. So suppose you are into a manufacturing of a toys. So cost of raw material, cost of labors, machinery cost, your overhead, these are the cost drivers for your organization. In a similar way, if you are into a service-based business, the cost of Google ads, or if you're doing any digital marketing, an employee cost. So these are basically your cost elements for your organization. These are the costs which are triggering revenue for your organization. So when you are identifying these cost patterns, you need to understand what is the correlation of the cost with respect to the revenue. You need to consider all the factors like how many hours you are putting out with respect to production of a manufactured goods, how many labors are being used, what are the various overheads, what are business promotion relating expenses when you're selling these goods and everything. So you need to identify all the cost drivers associated with respect to that particular product or services, or if you've got multiple products or services in your organization, so you will have to identify the cost drivers for all this organization. So suppose if you have given me this assignment, how would I identify the cost drivers? What I'm going to do is identify one particular product, what are the various costs have been incurred to manufacture those particular product, and what are the various business overheads, and identify what is the relationship. So suppose for a manufacturing of an toys, how many man hours have been required, what is the proportion of raw material consumption, what is the labor that has been required, how many machine hours have been required. Then I'll identify what is the correlation. Either when we are increasing the production, is the raw material output or the input which has been required has been decreasing over a period of time, or if it's been increasing. So ultimately, as an organization, if you increase your production, your efficiency should also increase. But if that is not happening, you need to identify why that is the reason. You need to identify few SKUs within an organization which are giving you a positive returns as compared to another SKUs. And you need to ask all these questions to your department to identify whether the cost drivers which has been mentioned are been accurately providing the results or not. So at the end, you need to identify all the questions you're going to ask to all this department and identify what are the various bottlenecks within the organization. So that's how you're going to do an entire activity to understand the various cost triggers in an organization. Number two, identify positive and negative expenses in your organization. Now you're going to say that all the costs which we are incurring for an organization are a bad cost, right? Well, essentially all the costs which you are incurring are not necessarily a bad cost. You need to identify what are the good costs and what are the bad costs. So good costs are costs which is help you to drive your revenue by 2x, 3x or 5x. Giving you an example, suppose you are spending money on Google Ads, which is giving you an 8x return on the money invested. Suppose you spend 1 lakh rupees on Google Ads, which is giving you 8 lakh rupees on revenue. Then it is considered as a good expenses for your organization, and it is going to drive your organization to a higher level. However, the bad costs are costs which are not giving an optimal utilization of the resources, or are basically sunk cost which is not driving the result of your organization. For example, you purchase some old software for your organization and none of your department are using those software. So ultimately this is the bad cost for your organization. So what you need to do is identify all the expenses in your organization, bucket them into a good cost and a bad cost, and start trimming those bad costs over a period of time. I am not saying that you will have to trim all your bad costs at given point of time, but you need to have a plan that in which quarter you want to reduce which bad cost and spend more money towards good cost in your organization. Number 3, talk to your suppliers and vendors. Now this is again the most important thing, and cash flow hack with a lot of CFOs knows, but they're not being utilized. Talk to suppliers and vendors. Now this is one of the very much important and the simplest hack you can utilize in your organization. So basically you need to speak to your suppliers or vendors and ask them if they can provide an additional credit period to you. So suppose today your credit period is maybe a 15 days payment credit period. You can ask to your suppliers and state them that instead of 15 days, please let them allow you 30 days or 60 days credit period. Now what will happen with this is effectively you're getting an additional period of cash flow within an organization, which you can utilize it up for any other expansion plan, or you can invest in a surplus or some few liquid investment opportunities. The second thing is what you need to do is you need to talk to your vendors or suppliers if they can provide you an additional discounts if you are in a position of a surplus liquidity. You can pay them up today if they are able to give you a discount of 2% or an additional 5%. So that is something you can do it up having a discussion with your suppliers or vendors. Number 4, budgeting. I have mentioned this in my earlier video as well, that budgeting is one of the most important thing and every organization needs to do it, be it a small stage organization or a multinational company. Budgeting will help you to keep a track on all your expenses. I'll give you an example. Suppose you have budgeted travel expenses of 12 lakhs for the entire annual. So in the first 3 months, you've utilized 9 lakhs rupees of a travel expenses. Now you are left with only 3 lakhs because your overall budget was only 12 lakhs. Now you can sensitize within your team members that we've just left with the 3 months of travel expenses, which is just 3 lakhs. So you can do it travels as and when it's really urgent. Otherwise you can do the virtual meetings or online meets. So that's how critical the budgeting activity is. So I would suggest all the organization to start implementing the practice of departmental level budgets and do an actual versus budget analysis over a period of time. This will bring a lot of confidence within the departmental heads, as well as this will bring a lot of discipline within the organization. And over a period of time, you will see that the departments have been sticking to that particular budget. Number 5. Automation. Now this is again one of the most important activity if you want to reduce your cost over a period of time. You will see the larger organization plays a lot of manpower, a lot of ideology towards identifying the opportunities to automate the processes. So what as a business owner you need to do is you need to identify what all activities have been happening manually, how many man hours been spent and the other activities been spent, and see whether there is any opportunity to automate the complete process, either via getting up a new machinery or implementing a new software within an organization, right from an accounting to call center. See whatever areas you can automate as much as possible. Try to automate it up. There is one-time cost associated when you're automating the project, but there is a long-term benefits associated when you're automating the complete process. It will help your team members as well as from an overall organization perspective to save a lot of money in the future over a period of time. Well, there is one more bonus point which you can consider is outsourcing. Now, accounting outsourcing, HR, marketing, these are some cost drivers which at the initial phase of your company cannot afford to have full-time people. So that's where you can outsource these areas to an expert who can bring automation, who can bring SOP within an organization, which would be helpful towards a later stage as and when you have an expansion plans in an organization. So that brings an end to this video. Remember, cost cutting is not a one-time exercise wherein you start slashing all your expenses left, right and center. It is more of an thoughtful processes over a long period of time, which is going to be helpful for your organization from a very long-term perspective. So identify all your expenses, see what all expenses can be trimmed down in your next budget, next quarter, next annual meeting, and start implementing those activities within your organization. If you need any help with respect to cost reduction in your organization, we would be happy to help you out. My email ID is mentioned in the description below. Reach out to our website at jordansky.com. Thank you very much.